welcome to Headbangers Australia. Today I'm excited to be joined by Ferdi, the drummer for Perth-based melodic death metal band Vanta. Ferdi, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. And yeah, thanks again for giving us this opportunity just to talk about the album. And yeah, it's a real pleasure to just even be on Headbangers Australia. And I know you guys plug some of our stuff, but we're talking to you on the podcast in flesh. It's an honor, dude.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Yeah, thanks for making the time. As I think you just alluded to, you've recently finished recording your debut album, Perpetual Selection. What are you feeling as you inch closer to the March 13 release date?
Man, like there's a lot of anticipation, I think, between the three of us. The two other boys are very poker face. I'm very expressive, so I'm kind of like trapping myself, but excited at the same time, because it's sort of like you do all your hard work, you kind of like, over the last 2 years, that's how long we've kind of put this together. There's a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears involved, and there's a lot of like evolution, personally and like collectively as well, and as a team, and how we operate and how we kind of write together and how much we push each other. So it's sort of like that feeling where it's like, crap, man, like we can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel now. Like we're nearly there, but it's like the next thing is like, let's hope people like it,
Well, look, I've been lucky enough to have a listen to the album, and it's a banger. You guys should be very, very proud of it. You've already released a few singles from the album, so other people in the community may have already had the opportunity to see those. What's the reception been like?
So far so good. I mean, with Sandstalker, it didn't pop off as we'd imagine it to. But that's because originally people have always like seen us as a melodic death sort of band. So with Sandstalker, when we released that, which was like one of the first tracks to be released from the album as a single, was sort of like I wouldn't call it a piss take, but it was like we just wrote that song as a joke. To be honest, we were like, hey, there's this like resurgence in hardcore music and Australia, like throughout Australia in general, like two to 3 years ago.
Yep.
And we were like, hey, let's sort of jump on the bandwagon and kind of like say, fuck, it's not really that hard to make that kind of track. So let's do something cool in there and still release it as Vanta. That was like so like people who heard it like thought it was great and stuff, but I don't think it was really the thing that grabbed us. So then, we brought out Empty Shell, we brought out Transicide, and it's been so far so good. Like I think those songs, and also Kuyang, the other one, like it's very much more fast, aggressive, and it's very much like within that melodeath territory. It's gotten a lot of good feedback so far, and I've had people come up and sort of been asking us, when's are you guys going to do like a full length thing, stuff like that. So yeah, it was kind of nice to know, and we were kind of like, yeah, there's something going on behind the scenes. So like stay tuned, and now we're here, and yeah, just super excited to like show everybody in Australia and the whole world, to kind of show them, hey, there's us down under, and there's a lot of other underrated talent here over in the West, especially, and like there's a whole pool of metal that's untapped, I think, from the other side of the world. So it's like sort of trying to represent that bubble today.
You spoke at the top of that about a bit of band evolution and also leaning into some of that hardcore sound that has been popular in the last few years. Was that fun to go down that path and just sort of dabble in that space for a bit?
Oh, absolutely. Like we we have these moments during jam time and like practice where one of us would just start chugging, like either Tien or Jesse would start chugging like some weird caveman riff arrangement. And then, because Jesse, when he kind of joined the band, he very much like grew up with a sort of like modern influence with like new metal, like Korn, and you know, Jesse loves his deathcore. He brought in that kind of Lorna Shore sort of vibe, and you know, because of that core derivative sound, he also brought that kind of like hardcore sound to it. Like at the time, we were kind of a little bit into throwing and stuff like that. Yeah, we had a bit of fun with it, but it's not fully our thing. But it's a little bit of it's sort of like a topping at a buffet that you kind of want to sprinkle here and there on top of your like ice cream, I would say. But we've been very much dabbling in the kind of modern deathcore, like the technical deathcore side of things, from the US side, you know, and kind of blending that American modern death metal sound with like the old school Euro death metal sound, which, you know, the Euro death metal sound is very apparent in the early releases that we kicked off when we first started as a band, and you hear that in the Gravemind EP initially, and that had really good reception. So it's sort of like, how do we take that sound and evolve it? And particularly like after Ivan left, the old guitarist Jesse joined in, and Jesse with his like audio production knowledge, and like just his different kind of taste and eclectic mix of different kinds of music he loves. He kind of brought that to the table, and all three of us, like Tien and I and Jesse, we're very open-minded. Like we don't gatekeep, we don't box ourselves. We're always kind of like trying to mix weird stuff on top of the melodeath sort of sound that we've got going on. So yeah, to answer your question, not entirely dabbling into the hardcore stuff, but more so kind of leaning more towards that technical death metal sound. I think a really good band that we love to kind of look up to, and you'll hear a lot of the influence of Perpetual Selection is it's like that Shadow of Intent sort of sound, like that Reclaimer, Melancholy, and especially Imperium Delirium. Ever since like Flying Black Flag came out and Imperial Delirium came out, we've just been like binging it, hey, non-stop. And I'm a massive Price Butler fan as well, so yeah, I love his drumming, man. But yeah, it's just kind of like try and mix everything and just try to have fun with it and keep evolving and do something different. There's a lot of melodeath, I think, around Australia in general, and also like melodeath bands that pop up here and there. They're very much Black Dahlia-esque sort of sound, which is there's nothing wrong with that. Like, fuck, we love Black Dahlia, man, and you can hear it in the guitars that we do and stuff. But it's like, yeah, we kind of just want to put a different twist to it and kind of stand out more. So yeah, that was kind of the reason.
That leads really well into the next question that I have for you, which is, listening to the album, you've already spoke about this, but there's a real tension between that modern American death metal sound and that classic European melodeath sound. Where do you think the center of gravity landed on this album?
Oh, and the two other boys would agree with me right now if they were here, but I would say Alchemy really hit the sweet spot. Alchemy is like the banger track for the three of us. Internally, it's our favorite. Like when that track comes on in our set list, we're like, finally, we're here. And I think to give you a bit of background with that song, Alchemy, Jesse originally had like been listening to Genesis heaps, that N3 track, and just the album in general quite a lot, because I love N3, and you know, as close as we are together as mates and bandmates as well, like our influences rub off each other, so you can't help but not to like tap into each other's playlists and just have a go on what we kind of try to go for and things like that. So Jesse came back to the table. He'd been dicking around with this guitar riff, and he said like, oh, I'm playing the Biogenesis riff but backwards, but with a different sort of flow. And then I got where he was going, like, man, that sounds sick. It's like, it's got that folky kind of Swedish sway to it, like medieval. Like when you listen to the riff, and I think the song in general, you get this kind of like flying on a dragon feeling in Skyrim. But then there's like heaps of like rocket missiles going after you. So it's a bit of like fantasy and cool modern tech in there. Yeah, so yeah, being the nerds we are as well, and at the time that song came out, for me, like we were playing Warhammer 40k heaps, so I thought why not like base a song off that game, and also like as you may have heard here and there, like the core concept of the album itself, it's very much talking about like the darkness of humanity. It's the unspoken things or the things that we choose to ignore, but you can't help see the things actually coming to life and unfolding before us. And up to this point, you know, in the world, you can't not help and be like, fuck, is this becoming more and more real because of our ignorance and things like that? So the album kind of dabbles with like collapse and rebirth, and like human experimentation via technology or like algorithmic dysfunction. And it's putting those issues and themes and conflicts into different sort of monsters. Because what I wanted to do is kind of like talk about those things, but not directly in the album. So I write a lot of the lyrics, like I write a lot of notes on the side and poetry in general. I've got like a notebook. So here and there, I have my 3 a.m. brain spurt, and I just kind of go to town and just have themes and concepts stashed away. So like, yeah, a lot of the stuff in the album is just about putting those themes and giving them sort of like a character, whether it's like a game horror game survival reference like Resident Evil in Transmore side. That's pretty much a Resident Evil song. And it's sort of like just giving it all kind of like a life on it of its own and like a world of its own each. But yeah, Alchemy, I would say Alchemy and Transmore side really landed well. Like that was like, this is it. This is like where we want to go. Actually, to properly answer your question, there's not just 2 songs. There's like a handful. I would say like Cool Young definitely kind of hit that spot. Empty Shell especially, because Empty Shell was one of the first songs apart from Sandstalker that was written for the album. And when we came to the point where it's like we're ready to do this full length, you know, debut LP, let's bring in more of that black metal influence into our songs, because 3 of us just love black metal, man. Like we listen to Belphegor and the 2001, like the early Demi Ball year, you hear it in like the Transmoside riffs.
Yes.
Yeah, Empty Shell as well. You get that kind of early behemoth feel as well. So yeah, we want to bring that in more. And Tien's a sucker for like his tremolo, like black metal riffs and his kind of like black and deathcore sort of vibe going on there as well.
Yeah. Do you think that's part of the appeal or the gravitation towards a band like Shadow of Intent, where they bring in some of that like Dimmu Borgir sort of sound into modern death?
Yeah, dude. I think like, man, it's just refreshing. It's sort of like what they're trying to do on, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally. And you know, I myself being like a black millennial and then seeing kind of like the older millennials taste of metal, it's very different, man. Like even though we're from the same generation, I think I relate better to the Gen Z side. So a lot of my influences kind of pay a lot of respect to the old stuff, but I'm much more very into kind of like the newer stuff. And Shadow of Intent has just been one of those bands which I've loved listening to non-stop, because like they just kind of bring everything into the table. Like people say they're deathcore and stuff like that, but you can't really fully pinpoint them as a deathcore band, because a lot of the stuff leans stuff like that. And then with our sound in Vanta, we don't want to box ourselves, so we kind of like we love all the melodeath stuff. It comes out as melodeath, but then like this album, it's just open to interpretation. Really, it's kind of like whatever. Here you go, have fun with it. Just have a good time.
Excellent. I love that idea of just pulling on all these different sources of inspiration, whether it be Warhammer 40k, bands that you love, books that you're reading, things that you scribble down at 3 a.m. Like that's the craft, right? It's managing all of those different inputs and then trying to decide what pieces rise to the surface and fit this part of the song.
Yeah.
What's a decision on the record that casual listeners might not notice, but you or the band are really proud of?
What casual decision was it?
Sorry. What's a decision on the record that someone listening casually might not pick up on, but you or the band are really proud of?
Oh man, that's a hard one, hey. Oh, dude, I don't know if you heard the last track, Purity. Pure, Purity was a piss taker, really. Well, not really. It was a hard song to do, hey, and get up to that level as well. All three of us. Purity is very much a tech death song. So man, to have that song on the record was sort of like, oh man, this is very far. Because I think after we recorded Sacred Light, we've all upskilled in our instruments. Like we can't. This is the base, just a bit of a context and background, the basis of our relationship. And I would say, just in general, if you have a very good relationship with your like besties, your brothers, it's a good relationship when you gaslight the fuck out of each other and just push each other. That's a good relationship because at the end of the day, iron sharpens iron, and we're not afraid to like, hey man, I know you can do that better and stuff. So we're very much like that, a lot like that. So yeah, Ken and Jesse like showed me the riff for Purity when they were like making it, and they've pretty much been snorting heaps of Arcsfire, like doing Arcsfire. And also at the same time, we've just seen Arcsfire live as well when he was writing that song. So I love I love my tech death stuff. Like I listen to a lot of the old school like Abysmal Dawn stuff, like the Bay Area tech death thrash stuff. But then like, you know, Arcsfire with like Bleed the Future, man, like I think that was one of the catalysts for Purity. Yeah, anyway, long story short, we wrote that song together. I sweated my ass off, like writing the parts with those drums and constantly like learning different bits of involuntary doppelganger just to get up to speed and whatnot. But when we got there in the end, we put it together. We didn't really think of it as in like, we'll just kind of put this one together and release it as a single. We were just kind of like checking the list as we went on and just tried to aim for like 10 to 12 songs. I think we had written about like 12, 13 songs really. And we scrapped a few, so we ended up with 9 that we really liked in the album because we wanted that album to flow like a journey, and you could hear it from start to finish. It gets more and more intense every track, and then you hit Purity at the very end. It's just like ballistic, like here you go, man. This just came out of our ass, you know, like. So yeah, to answer your question, that song Purity was sort of like we put it there. It's very much kind of like far from the real melody that sound we were going for. This is just modern tech. But it was fuck it. Let's put it in there. Let's just see what people think. Hopefully they have a good laugh because then they'll probably, you know, like our fans and our followers and people who pick up this album for the first time might, you know, as you do, you go through it from start to finish, and you know when that kicks in, it'll probably be like a shock value to some of them, and you know it might be funny as well for some of them because like fuck, like we didn't think like these guys would be doing this sort of thing. So yeah, that's probably it, man. That's the one song that we were kind of like didn't take lightly or like kind of had a hard time to kind of put it in the mix or not.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. This question might directly flow on from that answer, which is, what was the hardest drum performance on the album?
Oh man, Purity. I would definitely say Purity. I had to learn how to switch blast and get better at like the kind of switch blasting with the gravity, like left to right, just being more efficient. I think yeah, that was the kind of technicality behind that song, and yeah, it was just pretty much like a different hand-eye coordination. What else? There was another That's a song that Alchemy. So initially when we wrote Alchemy, like 2 years ago when we wrote that, I think given that Jesse was sort of like the freshest member on board, and also being the in-house producer, from that point on since he joined, because like, when you're a band, you try to cut costs here and there, and we're fully DIY, even down to the financial side of things, down to the marketing, PR, the arts. We're like fully in-house. All three of us have like a different role each. But man, Alchemy, when we wrote that song, Jesse originally sent the guitar tracks to me with like just preset drums and stuff, and me being like polite, I was like, okay, I'll play it like that. And he was like, no, you're just playing it straight, death metal, just blast beats. I want you to just go nuts. It's like, well, look, say no further. But I think that song Alchemy was a point in our journey where it was like, let's not be afraid to kind of say what to each other and just be open and honest. So I think from that, even not directly as a hard, it's not a hard like a drum skill thing directly. It's more so like a interpersonal thing going on, and like a relationship that we were building, the three of us together. But like, yeah, that took a few iterations, like I think 3 iterations, because the first two were very like death thrash, like just straight four on the floor sort of thing, but like blast beats. And then yeah, when Jesse sent it back, because I think it took some time. I think he didn't like. We're very cautious of each other and aware of each other. We kind of like want to push each other, but not like hurt each other's feelings. As you do as a decent human. So yeah, that was kind of like a nice milestone when we look back at it. Like, damn, yeah, we're growing as well together, not just our skills. So it was like, yeah, I would say Alchemy is also because it's also one of the tracks that shine for the three of us, and we all love it so much together. I think got that kind of like sentimental value to attach to it as well. Mm.
You've just alluded to it a bit there, but there's definitely parts. There's drum parts on this record that would not be able to place on like a Lorna Shore or a Whitechapel or on a deathcore album. Who pushed for that, or did anyone need to push for it, or did it just sort of start happening organically?
It kind of happened organically. I mean, we've like we've always kind of shared each other's influences and inspiration and stuff like that, and different bands we listen to. I think with the deathcore, like that Lorna vibe going on, Jesse had, I think in particular, the song, if correct me if I'm wrong, if you're thinking about like Still Water.
I'm thinking about the tail end of like Sacred Light.
Oh yeah. So like yes, like at the tail end of Sacred Light and even Still Water, they're very similar songs when you think about it. Very much in that deathcore sort of space. Yeah, the boys had written the riff, or Jesse kind of started those riffs, and given his like deathcore sort of like vibe and influences, he kind of brought that to the table. And all three of us loving like Shadow, we thought like, fuck, that's kind of cool. It's like modern, but like it's still kind of death. Let's just give it a go, sort of thing. So we weren't afraid to tap into that stuff. But yeah, Jesse just kind of brought that vibe to the table, which is freaking great. And yeah, we've just been having fun with those sort of nuances here and there ever since then.
Awesome. Something you've said that I found quite interesting is that some of the songs on this album you started putting down like up to 2 years ago. So when you compare the earliest writing sessions to the final record, what changed the most in the band during that time?
I think vocal wise, I think a lot of us know. And it's probably the elephant in the room as well. People are wondering what has changed. I think obviously the vocals. Yeah, look, we've had some lineup changes, but there's no bad blood. Like we're still very much in touch with our old vocalist, and yeah, I'm got to catch up with him soon as well. So like, you know, for a season, like he did his part, and you know, as bands grow and move on, like these things happen. So yeah, when that chapter shot and this new era merged with Perpetual Selection, I think what we had already released with the old kind of vocal style, you know, we didn't want to just keep it the same from the singles and the same into the album. We just kind of like, it's the album. We might as well go all out, do it properly. So Jesse on the, you know, on the side, like he does the backup vocals live and such, and he very much does a lot of like vocal stuff on his own time and in the bedroom. So I was like, dude, like just bring that stuff in, you know, like we don't need to find a new vocalist now. Let's just try to work with what we got. We'll figure it out later, sort of thing. So that was the thing that really stood out. That was very different compared to the early stuff we were writing and just the singles. That became the catalyst for the entire album.
Yeah. Did leaning into that challenge and change feel daunting? Was there any apprehension, or did that decision to just move forward in the way that you did it feel natural for the band?
Oh, definitely. Like it felt very much natural. Like we got there and it was like, this is it. We just got to make do. Of course, there was a little bit of anxiety, you know, because we all love doing this and we all love this space that we kind of uphold together. So yeah, a little bit of anxiety, but at the end of the day, it's just like, well, we're all great musicians. Like we're always still learning and kind of pushing each other. But like, you know, I've seen what you can do, and they say the same thing, and so on. So it's kind of like, let's just give it a crack. Let's not give up. Like I mean, we never really wanted to give up. We just kind of had to adapt, improvise, and survive, sort of thing. So yeah, it was fun, man. And like when Jesse was doing the vocals, I was kind of like, dude, give me some of that Ben Dewar thing going on, because I love that like Lloyd stuff from like Shadow, and we kind of want to bring that more in the WA side, you know, because I think a lot of metal around like the WA side, and I think in Australian general, there's a lot of like OSDM sort of vibe, sort of bands going around, and nothing wrong with that. Like I love that OSDM stuff. Like I still listen to heaps of it, but it's like, hey, let's do something new, man. Like, you know, we're us in Australia, we're kind of like the last ones all the time to get everything. So like, why don't we just be the catalyst to do something different in this part of the region and just like push for something different and something raw.
Yeah. And someone in the scene has to put their hand up and say, hey, we're going to try something a little bit different. And that's the only way that the genre and the scene can keep moving forward, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, you'll see that as well in the kind of shows put together locally. We try to do a mixed bag. Like I know there's some shows where it's just very much a death metal show, or very much a thrash show, or very much like this and that. But because of our influences and what we like, we try to foster a different sort of community, you know, when you put on shows and like mini festivals. So like, you know, taking on the modern metalcore bands more on the heavier side, like getting like more deathcore bands open, and like, you know, asking like tech death bands to kind of like play with us as well, like Iniquitous Monolith, and like the guys in Ashen as well. They're freaking great, and like Alosa are freaking good as well. They're like good mates with us. So like, yeah, always doing a mixed bag, man. And like, I think that's a reflection of our sound too, and who we are as a person as well. Because then at the end of the day, when people realize like, oh, we play this extreme stuff, we also love that other stuff, and like, we have an open door policy, open arms. Like, come say hello to us and just talk about music. You know, I'm not gonna judge you. We're not gonna like box you in a specific bubble or whatever.
Perth has a strong metal history, but it's pretty geographically isolated compared to scenes in Europe, the US, or even the east coast of Australia. has that isolation shaped how Vanta approaches music or the scene around you?
Pretty much. And that touches on the answer I gave you before about like doing a mixed bag and things like that. Because, you know, being a smaller city, it's kind of easier to filter through and sift through the dickheads in the scene, right? Like the people who are gatekeepy and kind of like toxic and like kind of bash on other bands. Sort of like, fuck you, we're gonna show you like we're one band that can do everything and we're gonna bring everybody together regardless. Sort of thing. So yeah, man, I think being an isolated city, it's like it's hard to hide a lot, hide behind more people. So like eventually if you do something bad you get caught out for it. Yeah, like yeah, we want to make sure like the scene keeps growing and doesn't stay stagnant. And you know, we work with promoters like B McGill and like Andrew and Brendan and Phonography. They've been growing the metal scene really well. And you know, after COVID, it was a bit slow, and we kind of all lost hope and thinking like it was going to completely die out. But yeah, Stu, Brendan, and Andrew just like man, they've stuck their head in there, and we've gotten into the promoter side of the business as well unintentionally. Like working with the other side brewing to put on like these mini fests every year. So yeah, eventually like everything just comes out of love, and yeah, we want to keep the heartbeat alive, and the scene, the Perth scene in particular, has gone a very long way. I would say even in the past 5 years to 10 years, like it used to be very much like different bubbles, very like clicky and stuff, but now it's like I can see more and more people just come together and have a good time, check out different talent, and not be confined to a box, and just appreciate like what that band is doing and what other bands doing. It's like, you know, like not everybody can do the same thing, and I think the world needs to see more of that and just appreciate it more.
It would be pretty boring if we all played exactly the same stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Here's a bit of a curveball for you. Modern music discovery today is completely different to even 5 years ago. Do you feel the pressure to think about being algorithm friendly, or does that just not enter the writing room for you?
We try to do a bit of both. Like it or not, you have to adapt. You have to adapt to survive, and the industry is ever evolving and ever changing. And like, yeah, I get it. People out there like kind of either grieving about it or really angry about it, or like just ranting about it. But I'm like, you know, I could do that. I could grieve. I could be pissed and upset. But if I do that, I'm just wasting time. So I'm just going to do something about it. The three of us, we're just going to shut up and play and like make it work. But yeah, that's why we brought out CDs for the debut album. We're doing pre-orders on our website on bantametalofficial.com. So pre-orders if you want to check that out. But at the same time, I think the algorithm kind of helps get your music out there. And like personally, if I love a band out there, if I discover a new band because of the algorithm, if I really dig them, I end up buying the CD or vinyl or whatever, and I think that's how it should be, you know? I feel like the algorithmic apps is a gateway. Yeah, it's going to make it harder for a lot of us creators and artists, but hey, if you can figure out a way and make it work, yeah, I'm sure like you'll be on the rise too. And in saying that, like we're not there yet, we're still kind of going about, but at the end of the day, it's all about the fun and love that we put into this. Like, we're not even making money from it, but it's sort of like how fucking push this thing is as long as we're alive, sort of thing. Yeah, you don't want to live with what if.
Very true, my friend. Very, very true. Hey, look, I've got one more question for you, but before we hit that question, I just want to say thanks for taking the time to talk to me. Thanks for taking the time to talk to Headbangers Australia. The last question that I have for you is, if this record disappeared in 5 years' time, what would you hope people remember from it?
for probably purity. Probably purity, alchemy, and sacred light. Because I think purity is just completely unexpected from us. Alchemy is very much like technical, groovy, and like, it's like Euro and modern American at the same time. And then Sacred Light just has that freaking like slam part, right? As well as Still Water with that water breakdown. But yeah, Sacred Light is just pretty ridiculous when it gets to that point. So yeah, hopefully like that's kind of the anchor for people to kind of remember us and go back to.
Awesome, man. I'm sure that they will, and when they get to that closer, they'll be impressed. They'll be impressed. It's a journey. It's a journey, as you said. Thank you for your time, Ferdi. Really enjoyed talking to you. All the best for the live show, and we'll see you again soon.
No worries. Likewise, man. Thank you so much. And yeah, hope that you enjoy the rest of the week. And like, yeah, hope your things go well on your end over there. And you know, keeping the heartbeat alive. And yeah, hope we get to meet each other one day. And yeah, get you at a show or something.
I look forward to that, mate. Thank you.